Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing and first look at the Sony SEL70200G, this full-frame E-mount lens designed specifically for use with the A7, A7R, and recently announced A7S, as well as the often forgotten VG900, is priced at $1499.99, and because it is an E-mount lens, that does mean that it is compatible with every other E-mount camera ever made. In terms of what you're getting, this is, as I mentioned, a 70 to 200 millimeter lens. That's why it has the 70 to 200G in its model number. You get a constant f4 aperture. You do have weather sealing, so for dust as well as moisture protection. This lens is ruggedized. That's definitely a good thing and something I won't say you necessarily expect, but you would hope for at a $1,500 price point. Optical Steadyshot, another very good thing. This is actually only the fifth native FE lens to date, and it's also, in my opinion, one of the most impressive, besides the fact that it is also the most expensive FE lens to hit the market. With that said, let's get it out of the box. You can see typical alpha orange packaging here for this lens, but what's really impressive about it is that it actually weighs in at a little under 2 pounds, which when compared with what you would typically have to carry around in order to get this sort of quality and performance for full frame zoom, it would definitely be well over 3 pounds. Forget about the actual form factor. But let me move the A7R as well as the NEX5R out of the frame, because the whole point there was just to emphasize that this can be used with any E-mount camera. You can see as I get the box open, we have some paperwork right here on the right-hand side. This is your typical limited warranty from Sony, as well as, I won't say quick start guide, but paperwork that is associated with your brand new G piece of glass. Let me get the cardboard insert out of here and get to the lens itself. Sony has been kind enough to include both a lens hood as well as a mount for the lens itself. You'll see that in a moment, and that is not uncommon for a lens of this size or caliber. You can see as I get the bubble wrap out of the way, there we have our actual lens bag, which doesn't appear to be leather, but I could be wrong. I know the Zeiss lenses do come with leather, but let's get this open. And right now you're looking at, still, to get this lens, it's actually quite difficult. The back order from Sony directly is, I think, roughly not a month out, but I think they're saying right now the middle of next month is when this lens will start to ship if you order today. If you pre-ordered, you may see it soon. You may not, quite frankly, because right now Sony is really just trying to keep up with demand for this product. So there it is, and I can tell you immediately I'm pretty impressed with the size. I was not expecting it, even though I just spoke about the weight being under 2 pounds, which is incredible for a full frame 70 to 200, even if it is only a constant f4. And I say only because some people will be critical of that, but the reality is that's part of the compromise of getting a smaller form factor and working within the confines of Sony's full frame mirrorless E-mount offerings. But construction really solid. You can see right here as I bring it up close, we have our focus switch for focus control of our focus distance. We also have a switch for the Optical Steadyshot, so quick access to image stabilization in the event you are on a tripod and you don't require it. That's certainly nice to have. Two different modes, one for panning and one for traditional shooting. You also have some hold buttons here for holding focus, as well as controlling focus, and then, as I mentioned before, the actual mount for your tripod right here. So a well-constructed lens. I think some maybe would have liked to have seen this in black rather than the traditional white, but that's what everyone goes with, quite frankly, for the most part. And Sony has done this in the past. Both their first and second generation of this lens in the A mount variety looks exactly like this. So it makes perfect sense that we're looking at a white 70 to 200 millimeter lens. Again, I'm really impressed with the build quality and weight of this lens. It is just amazing what Sony has done with regard to engineering and design here as I tip it over. I also want to show you the lens hood, which I know is still in here, because I know that's another thing many of you will be interested in. In fact, that's something that Sony redesigned on the second generation of this lens for the A mount, so that's noteworthy. This does not share the same design, but then again, the lens really doesn't either. We're looking at something completely different here in that we have a full frame lens that really resembles something that would traditionally definitely be considered large for the mirrorless form factor, but when you're reminded that you're working with full frame, this is incredibly small, believe it or not. And I'm going to mount it on the camera in a second, but there you have it with the lens hood. And yeah, just can't wait to actually start sharing footage. As I mentioned, most of, or I would say the majority of the 4K footage that Sony shared from the 7S was from being paired with this glass. So that tells you the amount of confidence they have in this latest addition to the FE family. Both rings here are rubber. That really is a matter of personal preference, whether you prefer metal or rubber. I don't expect any problem with these. They might collect dirt a little bit easier, but not a big deal. I'm going to go ahead and remove the lens hood, give you a look at the lens itself. And there it is, in 4K, I might add. Really nice looking piece of glass. Let's go ahead and mount it to the A7R, which is where it's going to be spending most of its time in my use. I do have my Zeiss 24 to 70 right now, pretty much living on the A7R. Of course, what lens is right for you all comes down to your actual use, and at least for my gear bag, this was a lens that I was waiting for, the 70 to 200 that is, for quite a while. And that's because, again, you do have full compatibility across the entire E-mount lineup. So whatever is in your bag, if it's an E-mount camera, you're good to go. So here it is, full frame, 36 megapixel performance, something that traditionally would be, I would say, twice the size in order to achieve this sort of performance. And we've got it now working with a mirrorless camera. And you don't need to keep this on here. For those of you that are curious, I think many of you that will be looking at this already know this, but I add it anyway because this channel is designed for just about everyone, both the beginner as well as the advanced user. But I think that if you're looking for stabilization and you're not trying to actually do some weightlifting, it's definitely good to have the mount on hand. You can remove it. You can see right here, this allows you to tighten and loosen the mount. So it's really a matter of personal preference and the shot you're trying to accomplish. But there it is on the A7R. In terms of mounting it on the NEX5R, I'm not going to do that right now. I'll save that for another video, but just wanted to really share this lens with everyone because there's virtually nothing online right now, and I know that this is going to be very popular, even though it is very expensive. That's another video for another day to discuss whether or not $1,500 is warranted here. But keep in mind, you will not find another native zoom lens like this for the full frame A7, A7R, or soon to come out A7S or VG900. But then again, the calling card of these cameras, of Sony's entire E-mount, is that you can put just about any glass you want on any of their bodies. Of course, if you want to stick native, if you want Sony's optimized product, weather sealed, G glass, well, this is it. And at least I'm excited, and I know many of you out there will share that enthusiasm. So in tight supply, and definitely, in my opinion, one of the most impressive lenses. In fact, it's the only other FE lens that I'm constantly using right now other than the Zeiss, or soon to be using, I should say, since I just finally got it today. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.